Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out.
All right, let's reset for a second before we get into our next guest. Give us a follow on these socials, Weekend Gabe, Weekend at Gabe's, and The Real Sam Crane. Not Weekend Gabe. He's Sam Crane. I can't forget that it's a mirror. So
yeah, you always got to point in the other direction.
It's a bit of a mind fuckery there. But joining us all the way from the West Coast, throwing up your dubs. This is a phenomenal catch for our show tonight for Art Week. I am ecstatic. Doing the research about Cate White has been one of the most entertaining parts of my week this week. So I'm glad and happy to have her join us to share her story here on Weekend at Gabe. Now, in the flesh, live. How are you? Good evening.
Hi.
Coming to us from the studio. That's professionalism. We love to see it. We love to see it.
I never leave
her. You really are about that art life, and we love it.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for that intro. You've been researching me, huh? What did you watch the How Do You Paint shows on YouTube?
No, we didn't just watch. We followed along with canvas in hand.
There's so do all that. The thing is like there's so much about you. It's like you live, and it's so fascinating because your bio says you self-taught yourself in your 30s. So that's like some people's second half of their life, right? So you start this journey. So I really want to start. I want to get to that point because like you said, like me and Sam were talking about this, like the far backwoods culture of Northern California. What does that mean? And I think we've come to the understanding like that's somewhere in the forest and form of isolation. Like you're just by yourself with those who you love. Maybe you might see someone pass through, maybe not. But then you decide to like take this next step journey into the form of art and your own depiction of it. Like kind of what was the triggering moment that made you take that step, or what happened, or was that always an inkling that you knew you needed to do something else?
Well, good question. And it's, okay, I'll try to be a little succinct. Backwoods, as you say, all of that, plus like four-wheel drive trucks, Coors Light, Copenhagen, super redneck. Okay. And which I'm not saying that in any derogatory way. Like I was of that. And then I did go to college. My parents made me go to college. I was completely intimidated by that world because I was from the backwoods. And so after that, I kind of got through that by partying a lot. Didn't have any idea of like my direction or who I was really. After that, went back to the backwoods, some different backwoods, to kind of try to figure out who I was and how to live. Like I didn't have any clear vision of how to go about participating in this world and in this culture. Right. It looked very sick to me. It looked very meaningless. And just also, my own projections, I'm sure, from where I was at psychologically, went out to the woods to be a writer. Like I started writing. And in that process, like just stream of consciousness writing, I had the experience of the creative process as something to help me tap into something that felt true in me.
Right.
And so that woke me up. That woke me up to the creative process as a powerful tool, being truth, freedom, liberation that you can then bring back into the culture and influence it. The problem with writing for me, I don't even know if it was the problem with writing, but what happened was I kind of hit the wall with it, where it was just too in my head, too language based. What you were just talking about before you had me on, with just vibing with the flowers, not caring what they're called, not caring why they grow there, not caring about the narrative, but just fathoming the beauty.
Right.
That's what I needed. And the writing had become way too conceptual, And that was my problem. I was caught in the mind. And so I quit writing with no idea what I was going to do. I mean, I clung on to it like this is going to be my life preserver to give me some identity, some practice, and some way to communicate with the world. I had to give it up because it was driving me crazy. And then I just started painting because I had the experience of the world. I got out of my head. I gave up my identity. This was the kind of thing where you hit bottom and like surrender something, and then something new can be born. That's what happened. As the visual world, my senses, everything came alive, and I just wanted to paint, and I just started painting. And that was another one of those powerful experiences where I was like, I've just tapped into something that I can follow, that gives me a sense of I'm contacting the underlying structure of things, and then I can like bring this to the world. So then I moved down to the Bay Area to like, be a painter, be an artist, artist. It took me another 20 years to actually do that, but that's where it began.
Wow.
It's such an awesome story, and I want to get back to some of the lessons you learned along the way a little bit later. But for now, I want to talk about this quote that I pulled off of your website. And I apologize if I misquote this, but meeting the demons. Your art is meeting the demons of fear and doubt and over control, and winning for just seconds at a time. And I thought that is first off, the background as a writer shows there. Absolutely fantastic choice of words. But I love that your art sort of blends both, like reality and imagination, but it also has this element of suffering to it. Do you feel like that's, integral to your creation, that suffering, that pain, that fighting with the demons has to be there for you to feel good about it?
No. I would rather that not be there. But it's not so much that has to be there for me to make the art. It's more like I have to make the art in order to keep that in check. Like I make the art to balance that out. Forces of creation, to kind of balance the forces of destruction.
Yeah.
Like forces of hopelessness or despair, like.
Yeah. I like the idea of winning for just seconds at a time. Where did those words first strike you? Because I think they're pretty profound. I think life is a little like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that just kind of is my experience of painting. Like my paintings look very free, but most of it is like pretty like planned out, and I'm trying to make it right, and I'm like being perfectionistic, and I'm struggling. And then I guess the thing happens that I told you that happened to me at the end of my 20s. I hit the wall with it. I'm like, fuck it. I can't make this, I can't control this anymore. And then I have that moment of liberation when I'm not, my ego's gone, So it's just like multiple ego deaths throughout a painting. And really it is like, for a few, and then I can see the parts of my painting that were those little free moments, and those kind of create part of my style and aesthetic.
I was just listening to Snoop Dogg on the Questlove podcast, and he mentioned that when he would freestyle, he would be super complex in his delivery, and he was just like spilling out these words. But then when he would try to write something, he's like, this basic ass shit raps, and he's like, fuck this, I gotta do the freestyle stuff. So I kind of feel like it's almost the same way, right? As far as getting out of your own way and letting it just naturally, organically come out, aside from trying to plan and do too much preparedness.
Yeah, you are so hitting it. Yes. And like, I would so much rather be like a freestyler channeler with my art. And my drawings, I do that. And it is that. But I have these damn ideas that I really want to execute, so I really want to make the painting about this. And the trick for me is to have the idea and then freestyle my way to it, through it. Easier said than done. Because actually freestyling is scary, to step up there with nothing, with not knowing if anything will come.
Yes.
Right.
That is actually the scariest part of painting for me at least. I come from a writing background. I come from a poetry background. But that is absolutely the scariest thing for painting. Somebody handed me a canvas the other week, and I was like, "What the heck do you want me to do with this?" You know what I mean? But one of the more comforting things that I did find from your teach you how to paint series was just your freedom and willingness to be like, this isn't working, let's change gears. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Where did that come from? I guess was that something you had to teach yourself? Was that always like just letting your mind be free? Is that something you have to intentionally do, or is it just like we're switching it up?
There's some quote by some painter, I don't know who it is, but said something like, your style is what it develops in moments of desperation. So when I'm like gonna switch, I'm like, yeah, that didn't work, paint it out. It's because it failed. It's failing, or I think it is. A lot of the times when I go back and watch my shows, I'm like, what are you doing? It was good. Leave it alone. But in my head, something just went horribly wrong. I have to read it, like, fuck it, start over. And something about also like, when you've got nothing to lose is when you're the freest. So I think there is something that I do to myself to set myself free while I'm working, where, I just say it's all shit, and it frees me.
Does that, sorry to step on your question, Gabe, but is that something, that like is important to really teach people to like get out of that, that planning frame of mind when you are teaching people?
Yeah, I mean, I do if I'm actually teaching anything in the show, that's really great. That would be a bonus. I'm really doing it just for like an outlet for my like.
And that was the other part, does it add an element to like, is you in the studio by yourself, quiet, nobody filming? Is that a different Cate than what we're seeing on the YouTube episode?
Exactly. Yes. It's kind of like why one of the main reasons I started doing some of the paintings on camera is to get out of my head and get into a more performance oriented place where the art is the show. It's not the painting. So it kind of takes the pressure off the painting.
I see.
And the paintings that I've done, well, it's really just actually finished doing on camera, is one of the freer, looser paintings. So some people with a camera on them clam up. I am set free, like a performer thing or something.
Yeah.
But what I love about the series though is that it's not so much like that's exactly the question I was going to ask Sam. So great job. But the thing that I love is like how you kind of like implement things about yourself. So for example, like the mama episode, right? You paint for 4 minutes, and then you're like, check it out. I had this dream about I had an abortion, and then I was pregnant again. But then I'm like, shit, do I get like a second abortion? Like, no one's going to do that. And it was just like really crazy. Like, I was like, but the thought process of like what you're going through and what you're experiencing, it's like so like relatable and understanding, yet something we never experienced. But it ties so closely into your work and the messaging that you express, that it's like it's such a fine companion of learning more about who you are, and it makes all this sense. But like from the surface, if you're just like dropping in at that point, you're like, holy shit, this is the craziest thing ever. But then when you sort of piece it all together, it feels like this perfect puzzle of just different pieces of work that you're doing. But when you align it, it makes all the sense in the world. And that's what I love about it. That's what I was saying when I was researching how much fun I had with it. That's what I was referring to.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to get through a day, and this is how I do it.
Well, we love it, Cate. That's what you need to know, is that people are out here and taking notice.
Well, that makes it worth it to me. Thank you.
Absolutely. One thing I notice about your work too is sort of, and I mentioned it before in a previous question, sort of this blending of reality and imagination. And I saw that you use Photoshop as well to sort of guide your designs,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting because I use Photoshop every day, even for this show, things like that. But that's unusual, right? I mean, that to blend sort of the digital art with your real art, or at least use it sort of as a guiding hand. Where did you first come up with that idea?
Yeah, I don't know. I know some other painters who do employ that a little bit. Like, take a picture of the painting with your phone, turn it to black and white so you can like see the patterns of dark and light, remove the color.
Yeah.
Like, so I use it for that, in that way. Like, I mean, really what it was is like, I have a painting halfway through and I want to make some big move, but I don't know if I paint this, big whatever monster on it, I don't know if that's going to work, and I don't want to do it and ruin my painting. So take a picture, put it in Photoshop, and try it out in Photoshop. So it's really just a way to test things out without having to ruin my painting. It's actually some of the pieces, some of the stuff in Photoshop looks really cool. And if I ever figured out this whole NFT thing, then I would have some NFTs be my digitally like manipulated regular paintings, because they look really cool.
Yo, I think you should absolutely find a way to do that, and that would be awesome. I just realized I have a sinking pit in my stomach now, Cate, because you just reminded me that we've done an entire week of Art Week, and this is the first time that we've brought up NFTs. So yeah, I feel terrible, but thank you.
Well,
thank you
maybe that's because they're annoying and bullshit, and we hope it goes away.
Yes, that too.
The best part of the NFT thing is that we spoke to a guest and they said they weren't going to do it, and then they
vehemently against it. They were no, what a stupid question. I never get into any of that.
Yeah.
2 months later
they did it.
Weak. What a weak person.
You gotta love it. They're great. They do a lot of stuff with kids. So we just thought that was
okay. They're all right then.
Yeah, they love the kids. All right. Before we get out of here, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the messaging in your work. There, one of them that stood out to me was learning to love our curves. And as a person who deals with obesity, there's a woman who I used to work with, and I used to talk to her about sort of self-image. And she would say, like, she wrote like on a post-it for me. She's like, all bodies are like loving, or something like that. Like pretty much like doesn't matter what you look like, your body is perfect, whatever. And so like you have this piece, and I thought it was just phenomenal. But like, do you kind of, like you said, like you kind of plan some ideas, but do some of them just sort of arrogantly come like you're just messing around and you're like, oh wow, this would be a great message to shut out to people about themselves that could have a positive influence?
Yeah, that's so interesting you picked that piece, because that was one of my stream of consciousness, like freestyle drawings, that exact piece, that learning to love our curves. But it's a bunch of guys, a bunch of men, and then I decided, yeah, I want to make this into a painting. So yeah, that was one that it did just kind of come forth, and I thought, I want to share this. But my take on that one was like, less and less so. What men are dealing with body image stuff more and more, but so much as like women just need to learn to love themselves and like learn to love your curves and all. And women are trying so hard to love their bodies, and men. So I thought it would be funny to do one with men. Like, I'm just trying to learn to love my curves. Like, you start to see like the absurdity of it. Like, really, we have to try that hard to like be in our bodies. So I thought like doing it with men might kind of highlight, just because usually men are not trying to learn to love their curves. They're loving other curves and judging other curves, you know. I mean,
Right.
not all men, but yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's sort of a feminist thing too, but or just sort of a satire on it all. But the message remains true.
Absolutely.
It would be good
Absolutely.
to love ourselves.
Absolutely. The last question I want to ask you is sort of about your journey. I wanted to circle back for a second. It's so hard for people my age in the 18 to 25, even though I'm 26 range, to imagine a path like yours. And I was wondering if there's, people out there not really sure, where the direction is going for their life. Is there a lesson that you learned along the way that you would like to impart to someone of that nature?
That is such a beautiful question, because I was that 18 to 25-year-old with no discernible path and no compass, and terrified, and felt like life was passing me by already. And yeah, I relate. Like, I was there deep, and I've actually made it to the point where now I'm giving advice. I don't know if you should listen, but I guess, what is it? I guess I've just stuck to an ideal that I could find something that felt true and real through my own creative efforts, and just trying. I mean, I did not do very well at it, but trying to just open my heart and open my mind to anything and everything, and to follow my instincts, like, to just, like, I feel some vitality in this action, or in this person, or in this place. I'm going to vitality. I'm following the vitality, even if it seems no sense, or seems even destructive. Like, I've done a lot of things that people were like, you need to get it together and get back on track. But I was so desperate to feel alive and real that I didn't care. And so whatever it is where you feel that sense of aliveness and realness, follow it.
I love that.
Yeah, I was going to try to find another question, but I think that's a great way to close this out, because it's a pretty strong message of, too often people try to tell you that you need to be something, you need to be doing something. And we steer people away from things that motivate them or inspire them or make them wake up the next day. So I think that's a great way to close this out. Cate White, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story with us. This was a fantastic conversation with you. I'm so happy to have met you, by the way, because I think your story is amazing. The work is equally phenomenal. And I just love your spirit and your energy. So keep making those videos, because I will keep on watching them.
I will. I've taken a hiatus. You've motivated me to go back to it. Thank you.
Listen, if you want to just like bring me on as the guy who can't paint, and we're gonna get Gabe to paint, I will.
Oh my God!
Because I can't paint for shit, and I can't draw for shit either.
I would pay for that episode. Don't put that up for free. Don't put that up for free.
Okay, we'll talk.
Listen, I'm all for it. Embarrass me, but then teach me. That's why I'll be the punchline, but like I want to come walk away with some skills.
Yes, like a guest student.
Oh yeah,
you can do it. You build me up. There you go. I'm game. I'm serious too. So
I am serious too.
All right, cool. I'd love to be on the show.
I don't think either of y'all are bluffing, but do not upload that thing for free, man. I will go broke paying for that video.
Cate, thank you so much. Do you want to plug anything before we let you go, or how people can find you?
Cate White, Cate with a C, catewhite.com is my website, and that just is the hub that goes to all the other things. So And I'm Instagram and all that, Instagram basically.
Cool. All right. We appreciate you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you for joining us here. I'll reach out to you.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
I appreciate it. Cate White closing this out on night 2 of Art Week here on Weekend at Gabe's. Phenomenal guest. Great grab, Sam. I loved every part of that conversation with her and also Haley. I really enjoyed this week so much. And it's inspired me in so many different ways. It just made me feel great to talk to these people.
I think it's awesome to add this week to our repertoire of shows that we normally do. We will have to bring it back. I have some artists from overseas who are like, we need to figure out the time change and a way to get on the show. So we will do it again. The Art Week, I think, has been wildly successful. It's not our, it's not our, normal cup of tea. You tune in to see your favorite albums and us talk about, delivery and rappers, but it's nice to take things on a visual level. It was lovely to talk to Cate White. It was lovely to talk to Haley Rodden. KO did that on Tuesday night, and also Jenica on Tuesday night as well. So, wherever you're at in your creative journey, I hope any of this inspired you, because I think it relates to everybody. I think it relates to, to rappers and writers and, people who want to do art, whatever that might be. I think there's a lesson in both of these episodes for somebody.
I mean, even for us, like, this platform is ours, but obviously we would like to take the next steps, and there's artistry in what we do as well. And to hear her just say, like, take chances, take risk, don't let anyone tell you otherwise and try to steer you away. And I think that's like the lesson to be found in everything that anyone was doing. Like to Haley, like, she could have probably said, like, oh man, there's no holes in that CTA platform. Screw it.
I guess we got to take these sunflowers somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Like, nope, we're still plowing through. And, and that's what I love about that. Like, people who are just like, we're going to do it. I got to do it. Just something telling me to do it.
Yep.
All right. So it was a great, successful Art Week. Thanks to everyone who was tuned in this week. If you missed any part of it, head over to our YouTube page and you can find KO and Jenica from Tuesday night. And then you'll find also Cate and Haley tonight up tomorrow morning. So go check those out. Subscribe while you're there to our YouTube channel. All right. Let's preview next week. Who do we have on deck for Tuesday?
We have an incredible Tuesday show with the legend. We're back to our regularly scheduled program here on Weekend at Gabe's. We will be talking with Ronnie Rage, who has a new song out, Maze Runner, along with his new album. Just got his own first apartment. The last show I saw Ronnie Rage do, the police came and shut down the entire venue. And so that is quite legitimately what we are going to do here Tuesday night on Weekend at Gabe's. We're going to shut down the entire venue. So we're going to talk to Ronnie. And then at 8:35, we are going to take you out to Queens, New York, stand up and talk with Party with Mala, who has a new album out, Escaping My 20s, as he goes boldly into his 30s. So excited to talk to both of them. They've been friends of mine for a very long time, and excited to wrap up Art Week here with you, Gabe. And what are we doing here on this show, Gabe?
Sharing, supporting, and showing love.
You heard it here first, America. It is time to get out of here.
Time to go. Don't forget to follow us. Weekend at Gabe's, the real Sam frame. Put all 3 into your life, and you'll be a better person for it. And for the rest of your weekend, be safe out there. Let's talk about Dune on Tuesday when we all see it. Enjoy it. Peace.
Bow.
Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head, and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.